Morning, back out on the hill today. It's May the 4th, Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you and all that. Back at a hill I haven't been on since 2009. So the plan is to do two hills at the top of Loch Awe, Beinn Eunaich and Beinn Eunaich. So normally we do Beinn Eunaich first and then over to Eunaich, but we're going to go up Eunaich first of all and then continue the traverse. So just working our way up now from the roadside. There's a hydro track which allows you to make good progress. Bit of a breeze from the north, a few clouds appearing, but hopefully it should stay sunny for us. It's quite early, just about 25 to 9, so got plenty of time. This is the slope we'll be climbing up shortly. At the moment just heading up the hydro track, and in the distance is Beinn Eunaich. So after about half an hour's walk we've just arrived at the cairn on the hydro track. This is where we start to make our way up the slope. So, and then we'll come back down from Beinn Eunaich later on. So still looking good. Looking back there to Conchuill Castle on Loch Awe in the distance. We're up now just short of 500 metres, so we're getting there. It's been really steep, as you can see. If I look down, it's quite a unrelenting slope that. Probably as easy going up it as going down. It's quite badly eroded in places and it would be slippy, especially when wet, if you were going down there. But yeah, it's a fine morning down to Loch Awe in Conchuill, and looking across here towards the summit of Ben Cruachan, I think. It's like one of the tops anyway in Ben Cruachan. So I think there's a break of slope not too far away, and it is slightly easier gradient now too, so we'll just keep going onwards and upwards. So that's us just broken the slope now. I've got a slightly more level section, then looking up towards the summit. About 550 metres at the moment, and we're back into the wind. So it's quite breezy, as you can probably hear. Chilly too in that wind. I think we're going to end up with quite a bit of cloud today, but hopefully, like yesterday, the cloud stays above the summits. But we'll just need to wait and see. I saw this morning on the weather radar there was snow showers over on the Cairngorms first thing about 5 o'clock in the morning. So I think west is definitely best. And yesterday there was some snow showers on Ben Nevis, saw that on social media too. So we're still, even though it's the 4th of May, flavour of winter in the air. So I managed to get a bit of shelter here out of the wind. Fine panorama from Ben Eunaich Beinn to Beinn Eunaich, and then coming round Loch Awe, and there's Ben Cruachan. We're up now at 800 metres. It's again a real panorama of the southern Highlands, stretching from Ben Eunaich Beinn and Ben Eim, and you can see Ben Lomond peeking out there, and then down to Ben Eim, and away in the south you can see Arran and Goat Fell away in the horizon there, and then coming round. In fact, last time I said it was Ben Cruachan, it wasn't. It's the Munro next to it. I think that's Stob Damp. Ben Cruachan is the pointy, rocky one you can just see there in the middle ground, and then Ben Mull in the distance. So when the wind drops, it's quite pleasant. You feel the warmth of the sun. This is really quite easy going to. It's a very well defined path, and after that steep start for the first 450 metres or so, it's a lot easier to traverse this. I think in many ways that doing this in reverse is a great idea, because that would have been really nasty to descend. So we're getting there. I think about another 150 odd metres or so to go. I'll bring you back later on. Fine view to Ben Cruachan, Ben Mull, and then Conchuill, where we're headed next. I like the way you see the sound of Mull just there between the two mountains. Fantastic. Great view to Beinn Eunaich and then Loch Etive. So we're almost there. That's us at 915 metres. I think the summit's not far beyond this point up at the top. I can't actually remember because it's so long ago since I've been here and never actually ascended it this way, but I don't think it can be far. So I'll bring you back at the summit. Getting windy again, as you can probably hear. Okay, I've just realised we're not quite there. A few more minutes to go. This is just a top, or a bump in the ridge I should say. We've got a little bit further, but we're not far. You can see the cairn just up there in the distance, so I reckon maybe about 10 minutes to get up there. Here we are, just approaching the summit now. It really is an excellent viewpoint here. You're seeing more or less all the mountains in the southern and central Highlands. Away down in the far distance, so you can even see the hills on Arran. And coming around here, in the distance you can actually make out the Paps of Jura. And then we've got these Massif of Ben Cruachan, which is very impressive. Although you would expect to see snow at this time of year on the north side of that, but not after the winter we've had. Then as we continue round, you've got Loch Etive. Away in the horizon you can actually make out a very, very distant mountains and sky. But I don't think this will be picked up on here. Coming round on to Ben Starav, where we were last May. Ben Nevis has got a cap of cloud on it. All the Glencoe peaks with the Buccleuch of Moor there, and in the distance you can actually see some snow. We think it's on Ben Alder. And then Stob Gower, where again we was up that last year with a summit camp. And the view out to the east, so you've got the hills over at Bridge of Orchy, Ben Doran, and then coming back round onto Ben Moore's to Beinn Eunaich, and to the south you've got Ben Lomond, Beinn Eunaich. So it's now starting the descent to the Beinn and back up the ridge there onto Beinn Cruachan. It's pretty cold and windy at the moment, so just keep going. Just arriving at the Beinn, so it's just a case of going up that slope and we're at summit number 2. It was quite cold on the way coming down there. It's always the same in descents though, because you're obviously not putting out the same energy as you do when you're ascending. Plus you're really exposed to the north wind, which you can probably hear. Really enjoying doing this though. It's always good to mix things up. As I say, I've been around here a few times, but this time doing the walk in reverse, it just adds a bit more interest and you see different views. So the Beinn dropped down to 730 metres and we're now up at 830. So this one's more or less the same height as Beinn Eunaich, sorry, I'm pronouncing it wrongly. It took us about 2 hours and 15 minutes to get up to the summit of the first Munro. This is the third hike I've been out in the Rush Trek Scarpa routes. I do find they're very good, lightweight, but with the Gore-Tex lining, feet don't seem to get too cold. The shock absorption is really good, which is definitely needed these days for the knees, but they're just so much lighter than the old boots. I had forgotten just how good a view you get towards Cruachan from up here. Outstanding. It's really a fine mountain. Looking back over to first summit. So we've made a good bit of progress crossing the Beinn and then reascending. Oh, it's just fantastic though. What a spot this is. You really sometimes have to revisit mountains after a period, because views like this, you can't beat it. So just strolling along the ridge here, I can see the summit. It's not going to be too long till we get up there, probably about 5 minutes or so. Really easy walking at the moment. Often we would come up here in the winter, back in the, I think around about the late 90s, 97, maybe again in 99. It was a really nice winter's walk, when you can imagine the snow over there on Ben Cruachan, and you would snow underfoot as well, but it wasn't a technically difficult ascent in it by any means. But you got these fantastic views all round, so it's one I'd recommend. If you get a chance to come up when there is some snow. Again, back in the day, even if you came up in April or May, you should be seeing snow patches there on Ben Cruachan, but I can make out a tiny patch, and it's just a symptom of the winter that wasn't really a winter for snowfall in the Scottish Highlands. So you can see up ahead where we're going, and it's not far now. Currently we're about 940 metres, so I'll bring you back once I'm at the summit. And here we are, just arriving at the summit of Beinn Eunaich. Looks like we've got the summit to ourselves, just Dave and I. Met a few people on the way down there, but they were obviously heading off to do the second Munro. So here we go. Just looking across again to Cruachan. You can maybe make out a couple of tiny snow patches. I'll zoom in. The view south is really, really good. You can maybe just make out tiny snow patches on Ben Cruachan. That's all that's left from the winter. Looking across to Mull, and again you can see that might be Rum on the horizon there, and then coming along up the shores of Loch Etive towards I think that's Ben Cruachan. Then we've got Ben Starav, the clouds lifted, and Ben Nevis. Last time I was up Beinn Eunaich was back in 2009. It was a few months after I had an operation on my knee for cartilage damage. At that point I wasn't sure if I was able to keep doing the hills, so this was the trial and it all went fine, and here we are. What's that, 14 years later, still going. Or 15, in fact it's not 14, it's 16 years. 16 years later, still going strong. ish. So we're just going to head off now and so this seems like a good point just to wrap up the video. I hope you have enjoyed it. It's been really good to revisit these two fine mountains, and doing it in reverse I think is definitely well worth considering. It's an easier ascent going up the steep ground than descending, and then you get these fine views to the west as you traverse between the two. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. I would really appreciate that. And also remember, you can follow me on Instagram and also on X, and I do post on there. So thanks again for watching, and I look forward to catching you on the next adventure.